stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff, even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm going to keep ticking. But no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
It's Meals on Wheels. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Cold Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese.
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving. Driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the difference between winning and losing.
It's down to the wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, Long Island, New York, and around the country. This is Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Errol Marks, and my co-host, Mr. Tidy Whitey Man himself, is sitting right next to me today, as you know all the time, Mr. Speedy Petey. Remember, you can call us at 631-500-0548. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app, yes. And by the way, I want to shout out to CJ Desean, who reached out to me today, told me our app was dysfunctional today. Well, I got it fixed. So all you fans out there, you can download our app now because it's working and it's functional. Well, functional?
Functional.
Whatever it is, whatever the word is, it is working.
You created a new hybrid word.
There you go. As you guys know, you can go to our app by going to iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, what's going on, my friend?
Well, I'm not making any hybrid words, but
Well, you're not that amazing. You're not that.
I could if I wanted to.
I could help you with it. If
you could.
Really want me
Yeah,
to
you
help
could. Well, yeah, I could also compilate a bunch of your.
Ooh, I like that word. Compilate. Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? A new word for me to use. Compilate. I wrote it down. So
there you go.
There we go.
So if you want to use it as a gathering information or listing things,
I like
you
that.
could say the word compilate.
That is a good word. But I will say this. The weather here in Long Island is absolutely ridiculous. I'll tell you why. One day it's raining. The next day it's snowing. The next day it's sunny. The next day it's warm. It's cool outside. It's windy outside. It's blowing trees down. I can't stand the weather here. But for some reason, I love being here. I really do. I absolutely adore this wonderful island called Long. Anyways, we have a lot of sports to talk about today. We'll be talking at 7:15 with a recruit. We will be talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. Yes, a big recruit for BYU. As you guys know, Zach Wilson going to the NFL draft this year, the quarterback sensation who could be a New York Jet at number 2, but we will get into that a little bit later. But I want to get into the NFL and this, I don't know, arsenal of moves for quarterbacks. It's crazy when you look at, you talk about franchise quarterbacks, you go back in time, how many franchise quarterbacks get traded in the prime of their career, or even in the essence of their prime of their career? Not many. And there have been not one, not two, but 5 quarterbacks in the last, I would say, month that people are talking about might be on their way out of their organization. And the big name is Desean Watson. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of Jet fans are probably mad about some of the exclusive stories that have come out in the last past week, saying that Desean Watson does not or is not interested in going to the New York Jets. The 2 teams and the 2 names that have come out, the San Francisco 49ers and the Broncos, the Denver Broncos. Now, again, the stories come out from different ends of the world. And obviously, there are so many different writers trying to bring out publicity, talk about stupid things to set people off throughout the social media world. Now, I don't know if that's true because on Boomer and Gio, just about, I would say about the last, I think 4 or 5 days ago, Gio came out and said that one of the biggest beat writers in Texas, in Houston, says that if he goes anywhere, it would be the New York Jets. Now, here's the thing. I do not believe at this moment that Desean Watson is going to be traded by the Houston Texans. They're going to do every single possible thing to possibly keep this man in Houston. Now, I don't know what they could do because they traded their best, his best possible wide receiver, arguably one of the best wide receivers in football, in Hopkins. They traded him away to Arizona to go play with another quarterback. And then all of a sudden, J.J. Watt was released just about 48 hours ago. Now, I do not believe that Desean Watson will be a Houston Texan for the rest of his career. I don't know. I don't believe he will. I don't know if he'll be traded. And if he does get traded, it's going to be a mass amount of prospects they're going to have to get to move on from Desean Watson. Now, there's another story coming out in Seattle that Russell Wilson wants out of Seattle. Now, it's crazy because last year, the Seattle Seahawks traded away 2 of their first-round draft picks for who? Jamal Adams. Now they have no first-round draft picks for 3 years. Now, again, I don't know if this story is true. I don't know if Russell Wilson wants out of Seattle, but these stories aren't fake. These stories are somewhat true on the facts that Russell Wilson is completely sick and tired of the organization and the executives, the GM, not building around that offensive line to protect him. Now, I look at the quarterback dispute. Now, Carson Wentz wanted Peterson gone. Peterson is gone, and he still wants out of the Philadelphia Eagles. He did not win the Super Bowl. It was Nick Foles. Nick Foles is playing for the Bears, and why not send Carson Wentz to the Bears with Nick Foles? It would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? But I don't know if that's going to happen. You think of this quarterback display, and you talking about franchise, Carson Wentz 3 years ago was an MVP candidate. You talk about Dak Prescott. You're hearing stories coming out of the Cowboys and the Cowboy land that Dak Prescott might not be the future quarterback of that organization. I can't stand the Dallas Cowboys because you have a franchise quarterback in my eyes. You do. Dak Prescott has proved to me that he could be a franchise quarterback in this league. Now, I don't know if he's a top 10 quarterback, but you don't have to be a franchise quarterback to be a top 10 quarterback.
They just want to spawn drama regardless of what happens.
Now, there are stories coming out of Dallas land that they're interested in Desean Watson. What does Dallas have that they can give up to land a Desean Watson?
The rest of your offense.
They got the 10th pick in this year's draft. They're very, besides maybe certain aspects of their game as far as their wide receiving is concerned, they're a very old team. Their offensive line is aging. Their defensive line is aging. So they need to rebuild around the heat of their team. And I mean the core of their team, which is the defensive line and their offensive line. You're talking about all these quarterbacks that are available now in the NFL, all these teams shopping their quarterbacks. The New York Jets shopping their 3-year quarterback in Sam Darnold to teams like the 49ers. We've been hearing the 49ers, the Carolina Panthers. I have no idea where they're shopping him. To me, when you look at the NFL and you look at franchise quarterbacks, because everybody says you build around a quarterback, you build around the heart of your team, which is a franchise quarterback. Now you're hearing that Aaron Rodgers wants out of the Green Bay Packers.
I don't know how much that's really a rumor, though.
Now, by the way, a shout out to Clarence, who says, pay Dak, he is a top 10 quarterback as far as he's concerned. Maybe he is. Statistics will show you that Dak Prescott in the last 2 seasons has been a top 10 quarterback. But you look at this quarterback dispute, and you look at this year's quarterback class. Is this a great quarterback class? The answer is no. I believe it's 4-man heavy. I think you could say Trey Lance, you could say Zach Wilson, you could say Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence.
Aren't most quarterback classes, though, like that 4 or 5 guys?
Well, yeah, but over the last couple of years, you saw the Sam Darnold class. It was like 6 or 7 top heavy.
Okay.
To me, you complain as a football fan, as an NFL fan, when you look at the quarterback disputes right now in the NFL, and you think, where are these quarterbacks going? What team is looking for a quarterback? Honestly, there are about 9 to 10 teams right now looking for a quarterback to start next season for that team. 9 or 10. And I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins, because you can't honestly sit here right now and tell me Tua is the future quarterback of that organization. You talk about last year drafting him as high as they did. A lot of people compare his skills to a Tebow. He can't throw the ball anymore. He had hip surgery at the age of, how old is he? 21 years old?
Right.
20 years old. He's already had hip surgery. And he had the highest #1 jersey sold in the NFL last year.
Now, also, that could also be a product of having that hip surgery right away. Was the first year a hindrance of that as more than anything else? Not to mention, you don't have these top guys helping you out as a quarterback either. Their targets are not very good. Their best offensive player after that was probably Myles Gaskin, and he was a decent running back, but he's a smaller guy that isn't overly good. So that's tough to tell with Tua right now. If Miami's smart, they're either going to try to trade that pick back or draft Devontae Smith or something like that.
It doesn't bother you when you look at the quarterback disputes. Even the New York Giants are wondering if Daniel Jones is the future quarterback of that organization. We talk about franchises. I just mentioned 3 quarterbacks. 3 out of the 6 or 7 quarterbacks that I mentioned are franchise quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, elite. Aaron Rodgers, elite. Deshaun Watson, elite. Carson Wentz at one point was elite. Dak Prescott, you can complain and argue that he's a second tier or an elite quarterback right now in the NFL. We're talking about possibly moving on from all these quarterbacks. How could you sit here as an NFL fan and we talk about now the league has completely changed. When me and CJ grew up, or Speedy, you're a young kid. You're 25, 26 years old. You're looking at the new age where these fans, they're not team fans anymore.
Right.
They're player fans because of fantasy sports, because they love the jersey color. They love the quarterback. They love the defensive player. They love the offensive lineman. They love the running back. The game is completely changed. The NFL, the NBA, the NHL, the MLB has completely changed. We talk about what stands for a championship team in the NFL. And the first position that stands out is the quarterback.
John Ferris says, I think Miami goes Chase instead of Smith. That would be shocking considering that Smith played with Tua. But, I mean, you can't rule anything out.
You think when you look at this year's draft, and this year's draft is going to stick out like a sore thumb. And I'm going to tell you why it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. It's not because of the quarterback. No, it's because that half these teams didn't even have a season this year. We didn't even get a chance to see all these players play in a full season of college football. A lot of these guys are going into the NFL draft, and a lot of these teams, these GMs are looking at past tense tapes. They're not looking at this year's tapes because they don't have any tapes. They have tapes from last year. So now you're looking at this year's draft where you could get a steal in the 4th and 5th round, possibly a 1st or 2nd round talent later in the draft. And you think at the quarterback position, a lot of these quarterbacks didn't even have a season this year, that you can find a needle in a haystack, a Tom Brady in the 6th or maybe 5th round. I don't know if that's possible, but again, this year's draft and this year's season has really stuck out to me. And the fact that COVID-19 is transitioning the game with these quarterbacks, and you got Russell Wilson upset at the Seattle Seahawks that they're not building around him, and you have Desean Watson complaining that this team didn't come to him and talk to him about who he thinks would fit as the GM and who does he think would fit as the head coach coaching him going into the season. And then you talk about Carson Wentz can't stand Doug Peterson, that the fact that he sat him out and he didn't even dress him in the playoffs. I mean, the craziness, not in the playoffs. I mean, in the regular season, you think of the craziness that has gone on in the NFL. And what stands out more than anything is we don't know going into next season what is going to happen in the state of the NFL as far as free agency is concerned, as far as the draft is concerned, and what quarterback is going to play for what team and what quarterback is going to be drafted from what team.
I saw something funny on Twitter like last week. David Culley, who just got hired by the Houston Texans, was the same wide receivers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs when they went a year plus without a touchdown from a wide receiver. So, yeah, you can see why Deshaun Watson doesn't like that.
I mean, the Jets didn't throw a quarter. I mean, the Jets quarterback, Sam Darnold, or whoever's playing quarterback this year, almost 4 or 5 weeks didn't throw a touchdown.
Right.
All right. So, to me, when you look at the quarterback position stands out more than any position in professional sports. And now you have about 7 or 8 teams. And by the way, 4 teams that had elite quarterbacks that won out of those teams. Why don't those teams trade each other for a quarterback? Russell Wilson will trade you to the Texans. The Texans will trade Deshaun Watson to the Seattle Seahawks. I know Carson Wentz will be traded to who do you want to trade him to? Who do you want to trade him to? To the Cowboys? And the Cowboys will trade Dak Prescott.
That'd be funny.
To the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, my God. That would be funny.
I mean, seriously, free agency is open this year. You got so many good wide receivers that are going to be available. You have Allen Robinson, the lead guy that everybody says is an elite wide receiver in this league. A lot of teams are going to be fishing for a wide receiver, especially the New York Giants, the New York Jets. Then you have multiple teams that have an abundance of wide receivers, like the Dallas Cowboys that have three guys that could be number ones on a team or number twos on another team.
A lot of teams like that now. It's either one extreme or the other. Then you have teams that are very talented that really badly need receivers, like a team like the Ravens.
It's, to me, this offseason is going to stick out like a sore thumb. And in free agency, and you talk about some of these teams like the Jets that have all the money to spend. I think they have over $78 or $76 million to spend. You have CJ Mosley coming back. You have a Robert Saleh, a new head coach. And then you're looking at who is going to be your starting quarterback this season? We've been hearing Desean Watson. Now stories coming out that, Russell Wilson wouldn't mind going and play in New York. I mean, there's so many names that stick out to you, and the one name that doesn't really stick out to you is the quarterback that's playing for the team right now, and that's Sam Darnold, who was drafted by the Jets 3 years ago, never had any aspects of a team around him. You look at the coaching that they had. Todd Bowles, who's a defensive-minded coach that was there for almost 3 years or 4 years. And then you have Adam Gase Cuckoo Eyes, who is no longer with the New York Jets and probably won't coach in the NFL ever again. So to me, what stands out is what are some of these teams going to do with their quarterbacks at their positions right now? And we don't even know what the season on the offseason is going to lie, because we know there's no combine. There is none. All these players are going to have pro days. You know what that means? A lot of traveling for these scouts. So as a Jet fan, what stands out to me this offseason? Well, number one thing that stands out for me for the New York Jets is, what are they going to do at the quarterback position? Are they going to keep Sam Darnold? Are they going to draft Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? Or are they going to make a move for Desean Watson?
If it's Trey Lance, they're not going to have to do that too.
I'm just saying.
Even trade back if that's what they want.
I'm just mentioning Trey Lance. He's a name that people keep bringing up. So I just named a name. I don't think the Jets are going to draft Trey Lance, but he is a name that a lot of people believe could be a franchise quarterback coming out of this year's draft. So as a fan, as a sports fan, as an NFL fan, what stands out to you this offseason as a fan? Does free agency stand out? Because there are quite a few good players that are available. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen now. Last year's free agency market was terrible. Absolutely horrendous. There was really nothing that really stood out to me as far as availability for wide receivers.
Yeah.
Offensive linemen. That's why last year's draft was there was an abundance of offensive linemen. That's why they were drafted. Most of the offensive linemen were drafted in the top 15.
14 picks, 4 offensive linemen, Giants, Browns number 10, then the Jets obviously with Becton, and then Tampa with Wirfs right away. And even Miami with their second pick kind of reached on one too, and Austin Jackson, I thought, at number 18, but he played well this year.
If it doesn't bother you as a fan, and I know there's a lot of football fans, guys that are tuning in right now, women that are tuning in right now, that doesn't bother you. If you're a Cowboy fan, or you're a Philadelphia fan. How about this? If you're a Miami Dolphin fan, you drafted Tua in your top 5, and now teams and people are talking about giving up on Tua, moving on from Tua. You drafted him over Justin Herbert, who to me was the best quarterback in that draft class, and then you have a guy right now that's playing behind Aaron Rodgers, who I think is going to be a sensational quarterback, and you know what I'm talking about. And I mentioned it last year when he was drafted, and that's Jordan Love. You look at this offseason, it does stick out because I believe you're going to see Matthew Stafford playing for the Rams now. You see Jared Goff playing for the Lions. You look at the trade that they made. You talk about the Desean Watson trade. The Desean Watson trade could really stand out of all these trades, because to get Desean Watson, to get a player of that magnitude, you're going to have to give up 2 first rounds, 2 second rounds, and possibly 2 starting defensive players to land him. You're practically giving away your future to land a guy like Desean Watson. Is he worth it? He's a franchise quarterback. Of course he's worth it. But then it could set your team back another 2 years until you can rebuild from that.
You're going to have to really draft well if you're not a team that has a lot of pieces in place. And right now, of the teams that have been rumored for it, the only team that really has a lot of pieces in place is the 49ers. Now, the 49ers have the draft stock is another question, but they can afford to do it a little more with 3 first-round picks and maybe those 2 defensive starters, being that they did do well considering all the injuries. The question is, with them, how well will they do without Salah?
And here's another thing. Everybody keeps talking about Tampa Bay repeating. Every single person. Oh, watch Tom Brady. There's a reason why Tom Brady got drunk. Okay. Has anybody seen Tom Brady? Has anybody seen Tom Brady get drunk after winning all those Super Bowls? The answer is no. And the reason why he got drunk is because he probably thinks that there might not be another time that he's going to see the opportunity to get drunk and celebrate winning another Super Bowl. Now, winning back-to-back Super Bowls, the last team to do that was Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. And you know how long ago that was? That was Spygate time. That was the last time a team did that. Spygate. The Rams and the Carolina Panthers. That was the last time we saw back-to-back Super Bowls.
How much do you think that also is the magnitude of it versus, all right, you won a 6th time with New England. All right, we've been here before. Winning it one time with Tampa, I think that's a bigger deal. He might have behaved it like when he won for the first time when they upset the Rams.
And I know a lot of people, a lot of Jet fans are saying, reset your team, trade Darnold. This is what Matthias Simon is saying right now. Get another pick, draft Wilson, or build around him. And I understand. A lot of Jet fans are sitting back and saying, what should the Jets do in the offseason? What should Joe Douglas do in the offseason? Here's what I worry about. The only thing I worry about Joe Douglas right now. In free agency, Joe Douglas has struck out. He brought Desean in. He struck out. He was off the team before the season's end. Yeah. They brought in a retired offensive lineman his first season as the GM of the team. The guy couldn't cut it. Every single free agent that Joe Douglas has brought in has failed for Joe Douglas so far.
Now, luckily for him, those were cheaper contracts at least, so that it doesn't look as bad as what the Dolphins used to do with overpaying a lot of veterans. What Washington? Oh my God, Dan Snyder, the epitome of it, with all the defensive players they overpaid. So at least, even though they weren't boomer bust type guys that didn't work out, at least they were cheap, where they still have that money and leeway to work with, and you don't have to deal with dead cap.
And to me, when you look at the position and what the Jets need to do this offseason, they need to rebuild that defensive line. Being that they're a 4-3 defense, Quinn Williams is going to feast on that defense. He's going to become a superstar right in front of our eyes. You saw it this year in the 3-4 defense. And a guy that big and that strong and that fast that can go up the gut and completely shut down anybody's running game and get to the quarterback, you know he's going to beast and feed on the 4-3 defense.
That should be their number one priority in free agency, considering that the draft depth for defensive linemen is not as strong this year as we've seen in other years. I think the best player is probably maybe a top 15 prospect at best in this draft class, whereas you look at the receivers and the offensive line, which are the big needs of the Jets, those are much more plentiful in the draft where they can go there in that direction. And there's a lot of different options between veterans and young players that are entering free agency. We talk about Ngakwe all the time. We talk about Judon, Trey Hendrickson, another name to watch, who had a great year with the Saints this year. So there's definitely some interesting ones to look at. And even a veteran guy like Everson Griffin's not a bad option either.
Now, again, and John Ferris says all them free agents from Tampa are probably going to be walking. Probably more than likely, not all of them, but there are a lot of big high-profile players that are probably going to be looking elsewhere because they want more money and they want to go somewhere where they're going to make as much money as they possibly can, because this might be the only chance they could get that contract. So quite possibly could happen. But a lot of these people, a lot of these experts think that why couldn't Tampa Bay run it again? Here's in the NFL, it's probably, besides hockey, it's one of the hardest sports to rerun it again. And you're not playing a 7-game series. You're not. Baseball, the last team to win back-to-back championships is who?
The Yankees.
The Yankees in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And you talk about it, the great San Francisco Giant teams after the 90s in the 2000s.
That was impressive in itself, 3 in 5 years.
They won 3 championships in 5 years. In football, you only have to play one game. And obviously, being that you're in the AFC, and I'm talking about the Jets, you have a better chance of rewriting yourself every single year because how weak the AFC is. But the AFC's gotten stronger. Kansas City's gotten better. The LA Chargers are going to be better with a franchise quarterback. You
have better winning close games.
You're talking about the Oakland Raiders with John Gruden and what they have with Waller, and if Derek Carr is still there, and that's another name that's coming out there. It's been out there for the last 3 or 4 years that Derek Carr might be on his way out. He might be going elsewhere. So to me, when you look at this offseason is going to be so fun to watch because you're going to watch these GMs, you're going to see these coaches, you're going to see the quarterback, you're going to see all these different players that could be moving on from their teams and could really rebuild what the NFC and AFC could be in the near future. Because if you see Russell Wilson go to the AFC or Desean Watson go to another team in the AFC East like the Jets or the Miami Dolphins, that can change everything as far as the NFL and the AFC or even the NFC is concerned. If Russell Wilson goes to the AFC and they draft a quarterback in Seattle's going to be a very, very bad team for the next, 2-3 years, right. 4 years. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about Jamal Adams, who fled the New York Jets, wanted to go to a Super Bowl contending team, went to play for a playoff team this year, did nothing in the playoffs, went to a team, And they gave up 2 first-round draft picks to land him, and now your star quarterback wants out of that team and that organization. And that means Jamal Adams, who's going to be expecting a $90 to $100 million contract, might want out there too. So you just wasted 2 first-round draft picks to land Jamal Adams.
Now, granted, the Seahawks always draft weird anyway, but at what point can you just keep repeating the cycle going, especially now with your division getting a lot better? We argued a couple of weeks ago with the Rams how good their talent was. The 49ers, when healthier, a very talented team. And the Cardinals came up this year. Even though they collapsed in the second half of the season, they came up and have a lot more depth than people realize. So on paper, the Seahawks probably have the worst roster and not a heck of a lot of money to spend, and not a bad amount, but they're not the Jets or the Jaguars or a team like the Panthers that have all these riches either.
And the team that stands out in the NFC is the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm going to tell you why. Last year, they won in last year's draft. They landed on every single pick they had except maybe 1 or 2. Now, I don't like Kingsbury. I don't. But I think Kyler Murray is the real deal. I think he is a franchise quarterback. He's only going to get better. He's the future of what the NFL is transitioning to. Fast quarterbacks that can move outside of the pocket and make every single throw accurately, over the shoulder, throwing deep passes between 50 and 60 yards. Kyler Murray could do that at the size of 5'8" or whatever. He says he's 5'10", whatever, however size. He looks smaller than that. But nevertheless, the quarterback position is completely changing. You have Hopkins there. You have the running game that you have over there, the defensive style of ball that they have, one of the best, one of the most underrated secondaries in football, and their offensive line, which was one of the weakest offensive lines going into this year, is this year made a huge leap to the middle of the pack type of offensive line. Arizona stands out because they have draft stock and they have money this offseason where they can land some big notch players that can really put them from a semi-decent team. What were they? 9-8?
They were 8-8 last year.
This year.
And they probably should have been better. They just fell apart in the second half of the season after they started 6-3. So, I mean, that's the big leap. But again, we've seen teams overcome that kind of adversity before when they have had the collapses. And a lot of those teams end up going to the Super Bowl. If you look at the patterns of the NFC, a lot of teams finish 7-9, 8-8, and that's the team that makes it there. And the Eagles did it after a 7-9 season. Remember, they started 3-0 in Wentz's rookie year. Next year, they end up winning the Super Bowl. So that ends up happening sometimes. And Arizona might be the team to make that leap. It's just going to be hard in that division.
It's going to be hard in that division. But let's say, who's in that division right now?
You got the 49ers, the Rams, and Seahawks.
All right, the 49ers this year fought a lot of injuries. Now, they don't even know who their starting quarterback is. Jimmy Garoppolo, he looks like he's on his way out. I don't think Kyle Shanahan wants to bring him back. So you don't even know who their starting quarterback is. Okay, who's the next team? Seattle, who Russell Wilson wants out because they haven't built an offensive line around him, and he's getting killed, and he's getting beaten up behind the line of scrimmage. And oh, by the way, they had one of the worst defenses in NFL history.
The weird thing is this year's offensive line was actually the best he's had in the last 5 years, and they still stunk.
Yeah, and okay, so that's 2 teams. Who else? We have Arizona. Arizona is going to take a huge leap this offseason because they're going to have the money and they're going to have positions that they can fill in the draft where they can be on top of that leaderboard, on top of that division. Who else is in that division?
And the Rams.
And the Rams, who added Matthew Stafford, gave up 2 first-round draft picks and a third for Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. Now, if Matthew Stafford stays healthy, which Matthew Stafford never stays healthy, but if he stays healthy, he's a little bit better than Jared Goff. Just a little bit. Because how much better is he going to put up when it comes to numbers than Jared Goff is? Jared Goff this past season put up over, what was it? Almost, and he missed like 5 games.
Yeah, he had a lot of yards, not a lot of touchdowns, I think it was.
And it doesn't matter, and that's because of a lot of injury this year.
Right.
Okay? So Jared Goff threw almost 3,700 yards, and he missed like 5 games this year.
Yeah, the problem with Goff, where he wasn't as in his issue in the beginning of his career, is he was more streaky than he was in previous years. He usually was steadily consistent, steadily that above average, but not elite type quarterback in previous years. And we've said it all the time. They had the number 1 offense in 2018, ended up going to the Super Bowl, even though we know that probably shouldn't have happened. But still, the consistency factor.
His numbers are pretty damn good. Jared Goff was 9-6 this year, 67% completion percentage. That's high. I mean, Tom Brady in his career his completion percentage is at 63%. This guy, 67%. In his career, over 62, 63.4. He had 3,952 yards, and he missed how many games? I'm sorry, he didn't miss. He missed one game.
He played hurt a lot of the time.
But it doesn't matter. He played 15 games this year. He still threw almost 4,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. How much better is Matthew Stafford going to have when it comes to numbers? Is it going to be that much better? You gave up 2 first-round draft picks and a third this year, and Jared Goff and his money. To me, I believe the Rams got robbed.
Well, Matthew Stafford will provide 2 more things. One of which is more deep shots because he has a much bigger arm than Jared Goff does. And 2, I think the less interceptions as a whole too. Stafford was kind of that force feeder in the beginning of his career. Then he got a little better at it and he's gradually gotten better at it throughout his career. So that's one thing that I think, and also the consistency factor too, that Goff really didn't have a lot. They had a lot of weird dud games. They even lost to the Jets of all teams.
Okay, if you look at Matthew Stafford's numbers this year, 64.2%, almost identical as Jared Goff. Actually, Jared Goff had better completion percentage, 67. Okay, 4,084 yards. He played 16 games. Well, so Jared Goff would have threw more yards. He had 26 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. They're almost identical numbers. Is he that much better than Jared Goff? And I'm not a Jared Goff fan. As everybody knows, I can't stand Jared Goff, and I am a Matthew Stafford fan. Is he that much better than Jared Goff? And the answer is no. He probably had just as many or just as good of weapons as Jared Goff did.
Now, also, the bigger difference, though, is Sean McVay is a lot better than Darrell Bevell as an offensive mind, though, too. And Darrell Bevell is also more of a run-heavy offensive guy first, as you saw when he was with the Seahawks, when they were really good with running the ball with Lynch, and even some of the backups they had when Lynch got hurt, and Russell Wilson, obviously. But that was the beginning of his career. And then he kind of took that to Detroit this year, where you saw Adrian Peterson do well at times, DeAndre Swift did well in the second half of the season, and the receivers kind of regressed. So that's, I think, the bigger gap to look at when judging that than Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff as a whole. Because I think we both agree that Stafford is slightly better, whether you want to rank him as what they are or not. But I think the bigger gap is the offensive systems that they're in.
And that's why I'm looking up. I'm trying to look up the Detroit Lions roster right now because I really want to look it up. And I want to tell you, Adrian Peterson was a functional running back this year. He played very well. They have Kenny Golladay. They had DeAndre Swift, who's a very good running back. They had Marvin Jones. They had Danny Amendola. I mean, does this team have no talent? I know a lot of people say that this team doesn't have any talent. I mean, I just name it 3 competent wide receivers.
Yeah, their receivers were never their weakness. I don't think it's as good as the Rams receivers.
They have no talent? People are saying they have no talent.
Well, yeah, they have no talent in a lot of other areas. Just look at that defense.
And again, Matthias, so I think that's how Matthias.
I don't know. Matthias.
I can't pronounce your name, but he says he's better than Goff. I never said that he's not. Is he that much better than Goff? Are you willing to give up 2 first-round draft picks and a third-round draft pick and Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, who is, by the way, almost 7 years the elder to Jared Goff, and trust that a guy like Matthew Stafford's going to win you a championship? That's the question.
Now, the other thing that they might be looking at, too, is also the
trend. They better win a
championship.
Yeah,
the other thing they could be looking at, too, is maybe the trend of the league. Where, as we mentioned, when do you ever see this many quarterbacks expendable? So maybe they think, all right, if Matthew Stafford doesn't work out for the remaining length of this contract, it might be easier to find a quarterback where they don't need all those first-round picks either. And they could gamble on, especially if McVay's still there, who he thinks maybe that next guy is to fit that system. And, again, maybe they end up finding it in the draft. Maybe they end up finding it in another trade. But that's the trend now, especially with Watson, with Wilson. That's a lot.
By the way, for all you Met fans, you're not going to be very happy about this. Reports are saying that the Yankees are signing reliever Justin Wilson.
Now he returns to the Yankees.
And he's going to the Yankees. They win the bid for Justin Wilson. So he is not going to be a New York Met next year. He will be a New York Yankee. So that's huge news.
That's a nice move.
A nice move for the New York Yankees after moving from Adam Ottavino, and they gave him up. They practically gave away his contract. And the Yankees, the Red Sox actually helped the Yankees out because
I know that was weird.
They added 2 relievers for 1, and I think the Yankees bullpen is going to be has more depth going into this offseason, going out of this offseason than they did with it going into the offseason. So interesting move for the New York Yankees. But with Stafford, they better win a championship. Because if they don't win a championship, they just set their team back 2 or 3 years.
I think a lot of the moves they made already have shown that kind of mentality as it is already. After the first 2 years where they were trying to bring in new players, young players after that, and stick with the defense that they built, then all of a sudden they're flipping off defensive players. They got Talib, they got Peters, and then they trade those guys quickly, and then they get Jalen Ramsey. So all of a sudden, yeah, that's where they're going. So they're kind of in that system as it is already. So that's why I think they made that move, ended up going all in, and now have another year of 3 more years of not having first round picks is definitely the road they're going. But if you're going to commit to something like this, you got to go all in. And the only question is how Stafford's going to be in the playoffs. He's inexperienced, and one of the losses.
How many wins does he have?
He has none. But I would say only one of the games he was really bad in. That was against the Seahawks.
1 win, ladies and gentlemen, out of all those teams with Calvin Johnson and all those prolific offensive teams where he threw how many seasons with 5,000, almost 5,000 yards?
I think 3.
Him and Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees and him are the only ones that have had 5,000-yard seasons.
And Mahomes recently.
And Mahomes.
Yeah.
There are not many players and not many quarterbacks that have had 5,000-yard seasons. Matthew Stafford being one of them. And Matthew Stafford, with all those talented offensive teams, has never won a playoff game. Jared Goff, how many playoff wins does he have? By the way, Jared Goff 2 years ago was 1 play away from winning a Super Bowl, and then they trade him away with 2 first rounds and a third from Matthew Stafford, who's 7 years older than him.
Yeah, again, being that it's a very small sample size with the Lions, especially since a lot of those teams, they weren't even close to the talent of who they played. That's what you have to judge, because we see it with certain quarterbacks. Sometimes they're just haunted in the playoffs. We saw that with Peyton Manning with a lot of teams that he had. He had duds. Even Big Ben, even though they won the Super Bowl the first year, he's had some playoff duds. So that's tough to judge in terms of a new system and that much inexperience. But yeah, maybe it is something that carries over. We don't know. Again, he only really struggled in that one game though against the Seahawks, against that very talented defense, when they got really destroyed. But they should have beaten the Cowboys though. Keep that in mind. Remember, before the Dez dropped the dilemma, there was also the Cowboys getting helped like the Rams did for pass interference.
And then you talk about Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger. Is he coming back? A lot of people think he's done. Now, what do they do at the quarterback position? Another team has a sensational wide receiving core, sensational offensive line, a great offensive line, and a defense that, to me, completely fell apart in the second half of the season. Maybe because of injury, losing Bush, losing the pass rusher, the pass rushers that they've lost. Do they go after J.J. Watt? Now, J.J. Watt is a big name, and there are 10 teams that, of course, are going to be lining up for J.J. Watt because he can get to the quarterback, and he's a guy that can cause havoc behind the line of scrimmage. Here's the problem. What is J.J. Watt worth? Are you going to pay J.J. Watt top dollar? Now, if you talk about Pittsburgh, more than likely that would be the best destination for him. Both of his brothers play for Pittsburgh. One of his a fullback. The other one, to me, was Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't win the Defensive Player.
I thought it was robbed last year in particular.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't think Aaron Donald should have won the Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm the same way. I actually thought Xavier Howard should have won Defensive Player of the Year.
To me, when you look at the position and where the position lies now in the NFL, you're talking about where do you go as a team? Now, what do you spend? How do you spend? And how do you attack free agency? Now, when you look at Joe Douglas, even you look at Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman has to make a decision. Now, you talk about their running back. Their running back, Saquon Barkley. He's coming back from injury. Saquon Barkley this is his third year in the NFL. He's got 2 more years, and they're going to have to decide, are they going to keep him or are they going to move him? If Saquon Barkley has a good season this year, next offseason, I move on from Saquon Barkley. I try to get as much as I possibly can for somebody like Saquon Barkley, because you're not winning right now. And you're probably not going to win for at least 2 or 3 more years or be a competitive winning a company or playoff caliber team. So, again, my argument here is, what do some of these teams do in the offseason? That is going to be the question when you look at some of these teams and some of the thoughts on where these teams are going to go in free agency.
Yeah, for the Giants, I think they're going to continue to focus with the defensive side of the ball. They need an edge rusher as well, kind of like the Jets do. I know they've had some talent with Lorenzo Carter, who flashed before he got hurt, but they still need some edge rushing because they have a very good interior, assuming they keep Leonard Williams. The other thing they need is an inside linebacker. I think a guy like Zach Cunningham could be an interesting one, who's going to be a free agent from the Texans that they could target. And then the rest will be receivers, like we talk about with every other team. Are they going to go after a wide receiver too? Because they definitely need a number one.
Well, you're definitely not. Anyways, that's Speedy Petey. But that's my take with football in this offseason. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm very intrigued to see what is going to happen in free agents. By the way, before we get into some baseball conversation, I will say this. Did you like the inductees? Do you like who's going to the Hall of Fame this year for the NFL?
I didn't. I liked the inductees that were there, like the ones that actually got nominated. I still am surprised that Brian Dawkins didn't get in, though, because I think he absolutely deserves
first ballot.
He's been on the ballot now for.
So he'll be in next year.
Yeah, he's been on the ballot.
This is too
for a
good
while,
of a ballot.
Yeah.
Look at the ballot this year.
No, I know. I'm not saying anyone is undeserving on this ballot. I'm just saying I'm surprised Dawkins didn't get in there because, to me, I thought he was a better safety than Lynch, and Lynch got in quicker than he did. So.
Well, again, you don't know how the NFL, you don't know how the board is going to decide who's going in. Look, Terrell Owens was, to me, a number one candidate. It took him a second year, and Randy Moss was the number one, and Terrell Owens wasn't. And Randy Moss just had just as much problems on and off the field as Terrell Owens. So and to me, I think Randy Moss changed his career by an analyst, by being a broadcaster. It changed everybody's perception of who he is. As a person, as an analyst, as a football mind. I think that if Randy Moss never became an analyst for ESPN, I don't think he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he would have been like Terrell Owens. I really do. I think a lot of people figured out where Randy Moss was or who Randy Moss was, being that he's been an analyst for 3 years. He's been working with a lot of different people, and a lot of people like him now. And a lot of people see the difference of him. Same thing with Rex Ryan. Nobody knew who Rex Ryan was, except that he was funny, he was crazy as a coach. But now, as an analyst, you see a different side of Rex Ryan. Right, that's what you see.
Yeah, we'll never know unless we become members of this committee or interview any of them what this thought process is with that. Because again, we could just judge it by numbers, we could judge it by accolades, and again, who they were, what we know on the field. But yeah, we'll never know what the writer biases and all that are. And we complain about it all the time with baseball for sure. Football's not as bad, luckily, but still, there's definitely some questionable ones that I thought could have gotten in a little earlier than they did, even if the class is a little larger, not that much larger.
And now you have baseball 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers, and baseball's right around the corner. And to me, this is a fun time of the year because March Madness is is 3 weeks away. And then you have baseball with pitchers and catchers. You have preseason, spring training probably starting in the next couple of weeks. You have hockey going on right now in the beginning of the season. You have basketball going on. You have the trade deadline 2 weeks away. We'll get into that in just a few moments. But baseball, you talk about free agency. There's a lot of players still available, and baseball's about to start 2 weeks from now. What stands out to you this offseason for baseball, Speedy?
The continuing of the 1 year contracts, I think, is definitely one. We weren't sure how this shortened season would affect the amount of the 1 year contracts they would get and also the overall value of it, because we say it all the time. A lot of teams lost money. So how are they going to go after these players and who are they going to go after? The other thing that stands out is the amount of trades that have been not only like three-way trades, but also surprise trades that we've seen. And I continue to say it. I think a lot of both right-handed hitters and older hitters continue to be devalued. You look at a guy like Ozuna, who just re-signed with the Braves. They're not
big move for the Braves.
Yeah, they're not being as valued as they used to be because there's a lot of guys with power. Or a lot of guys with home runs that surprise people. I mean, we were talking about it on the Weekend Crunch. Somebody like Eugenio Suarez, who would have thought when he came up as a rookie that he would have had a season of 48 home runs? Nobody would have thought that. And even again, all these random flash surprises of just guys hitting home runs. Now, whether we believe, I know we fought over this in the past, whether you think the balls are juiced or not is another question. But again,
I think it is.
It's still with the way the players are developed now, there's a lot more of these home run or bust guys. That's why strikeouts keep going up too. So those players are less less prioritized because they end up being more of them because of the way the player development has changed.
To me, when you look at going into this season, and there's a lot of things that stand out for the New York teams. You have the Mets. They have Francisco Lindor now, a superstar player that they could build their team around, even though I believe the polar bear is the guy that everybody thinks is going to be the face and the voice of the New York Mets. You have the pitching, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard will be back sometime in June or July, 162 games again this year. Everybody's expecting, and you talk about the power of transition of their divisions. You talk about the Mets, the Nationals won a national championship. They won a championship 2 years ago. Now you talk about the Nationals. You talk about Scherzer. He's getting old. You talk about Steven Strasburg. He's got to stay healthy. You talk about that pitching staff and that bullpen and even that lineup. Bryce Harper from the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, the transition of that team, Joe Girardi, Didi Gregorius just re-signed with that team. What did they do this year? They had a terrible first year with a guy like Joe Girardi, who everybody thought was going to really change and bringing value into some of the players. Maybe turn Bryce Harper back into the superstar that he was. Bryce Harper has taken 2 steps back.
I think the hitting for the Phillies did fine, though. They need pitching badly, and because they overpaid a lot of other players, that's going to be hard for them to get it.
So you're looking at this offseason and you talk about some of the players. There's so many available players still available where I mean, now players are just add-ons and you're not going to get paid if you're an add-on. If you're making a spring training roster like Kipnis or Sandoval, who everybody says is going to join the Braves for spring training, they're not offered a contract. So they're devalued. And now you talking about going into the season where there are good players that are going to be sitting out half the season until maybe a player gets hurt, injured, or something like that. And to me, Speedy, when you talk about teams that have so much depth, like the Yankees or maybe the Dodgers, they're going to be laughing to the bank.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, they definitely are the pinnacle when you're judging modern baseball, because depth is everything in modern baseball, with the analytics, with the micromanaging that you see with a lot of today's managers. And that's a big key, and that's why the Dodgers, I think, have ran away with, at least on paper, being the best team. And you're seeing other teams do it too. We've discussed it with Josh on the Weekend Crunch too. Like the NL West, the NL East really have risen themselves into top divisions where they were thought of as kind of either lopsided or not as good divisions. And in the American League, the East, they have the Yankees and the Rays at the top. Who else is going to make that leap? Toronto's had a decent offseason. We'll see if maybe that's the team that ends up doing it. And then in the West, there's a lot of question marks there. So it's definitely something that is to be paid attention to. But depth is very key, and making the best of these gem-type contracts is the new wave of baseball. And it's still going, even in this shortened season, this new structure that they're having. And just a lot of one-year deals, a lot of prove-it deals, whether these players like it or not.
It's terrible. It's really, really bad. For baseball, even though baseball, there's no salary cap, and whatever you get offered, whatever you get signed to, that is guaranteed money that's going to you. It's not like it's football where you get signed $100 million contract, only $40 or $50 million guaranteed. The rest of that money is not guaranteed, where you can be laid off or dropped after your first 2 or 3 years after the contract and the money guarantee is gone. So to me, when you look at this offseason for baseball, the transition of the game, you're looking at some of these players like Wilson just got picked up. Justin Wilson just got picked up 2 weeks before spring training. You're talking about one of the most underrated relief pitchers in baseball getting picked up 2 weeks before spring training.
I always liked him as a versatile lefty that could pitch in a lot of different roles. He's not just a lefty specialist like you see a lot of these other ones.
It's, to me, it really stands out. And now the Cubs, you talk about the Chicago Cubs moving on to some of their players. Now you're talking about maybe moving and Baez. We've been hearing Rizzo's name get brought up, Bryant's name get brought up. You see Theo Epstein decided to take a step down from the Cubs, sit out for the season, maybe work with the MLB as an executive or something like that. To me, it's crazy. Baseball has completely transitioned. It's completely different than it was 5-6 years ago. And to me, is it for the better or for the worst? And to me, when you look at the numbers and some of these players that don't even have jobs, it's for the worst. It's for the worst.
Just to think, the Cubs, what we thought was going to be a nice run for them when they started accumulating all those young players, now could be ended because they lost a playoff series to the Marlins.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Theo Epstein decided to stand down and step down because of that loss against the Marlins. I really do believe that. Now, there was a lot of things that probably haven't come out, aka Jared Porter. We heard that as he became the GM for the New York Mets. That came out. I think there was a lot of hidden things coming out from the Cubs, some things that happened under Theo Epstein. I think Theo Epstein got out of there before he would have gotten in trouble or would have hurt his opportunities to be a GM or an executive or a president of an organization in the future. I really believe there's a lot more in depth that happened over the last couple of years with that Chicago Cubs team.
Still, we have thought the Cubs that we thought at least was at least a top 10 team talent on paper at the beginning of last year would lose to the Marlins in the playoffs.
No, but
got swept by them too.
That's baseball, and that's sports. Look at hockey. The Rangers got swept by the Hurricanes. Did anybody think going into the playoff? Well, going into the
True, but there's a significant talent gap between that and what the Cubs and the Marlins have.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, You look at what happens in the playoffs. In hockey and baseball, you just never know what's going to happen. You don't know. Look at the Yankees. With the talent that the Yankees have had over the years, would you have thought that the Yankees haven't been to a World Series since 2009? Come on. The last time the Yankees played in a World Series was 2009 with all the talent. You're talking about in the last 11 years, the Yankees were probably favorites of going to the World Series in the American League at least 4 or 5 of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the early ALCS losses, Texas, Detroit, teams like that, and now getting hindered by, as we know, a team that cheated.
Well, it doesn't matter. The fact is, the Yankees haven't seen a World Series in almost 11 years. That's crazy. That is crazy when you look at where baseball is transitioning to. There's no high-powered baseball team anymore. And with these contracts that are coming out now, when you're paying DJ LeMahieu a 6-year, $90 million contract when he's one of the best hitters in baseball, one of the best top 5 players in baseball, and you're paying him $90 million. When you see Mike Trout last year get $400 to $500 million, he's the first almost $500 million player in baseball history. When you see that stand out, and DJ LeMahieu has been just as good a hitter or maybe even better in the last 2 years than Mike Trout.
But older right-handed hitters are being devalued. That's the way baseball is now, unfortunately. You're only going to get that $300, $400 million contract if either 1, you're a top-tier starting pitcher, or 2, you're young.
Mm. And then the trade deadline for the NBA. And to me, and I will say this, as a New York Knicks fan, I know a lot of people like Julius Randle. I'm one of them that he's grown to me, for what he has done this year. He's an all-star this year. No question that he is. He's one of 5 players right now in the NBA that's averaging at his size, being that he's a power forward / center. He's averaging almost a triple-double. I mean, it's fantastic what he's doing. He's averaging 22 points, 10 rebounds, and over 6 assists for a guy who wasn't much of a passer, coming out from the Lakers when the Lakers drafted him, and everywhere he's gone from the Pelicans, and then coming to the New York Knicks, he's a completely transitioned player under Tom Thibodeau's offense. But we haven't seen enough. We haven't seen enough of Obi Toppin, and that has a lot to do with Julius Randle. And to me, I love Emmanuel Quickley. I cannot look at Bradley Beal and some of these all-stars that we're hearing coming out from the names coming out right now in trade rumors. I do not want to trade Emmanuel Quickley or an Obi Toppin in a value trade for as good as Bradley Beal is. I'm not trading one of my youngsters.
That's probably going to be what it's stake, though. Otherwise, you're not going to get them.
To me, you want to keep these guys. You want these guys to grow. These are homegrown players. Emmanuel Quickley could be a 25-point guy, a 25, 6-6 type of player in the future in the NBA, like a CJ McCollum, or could turn out to be a 28, 29-point player the way he shoots at the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a tough one to judge because you do want that star appeal. And we say it all the time, you want free agents to come to the Knicks finally. And maybe now with James Dolan taking a step back in the organization finally, they won't have that kind of issue, which has seemed to be the biggest issue with a lot of free agents. So that'll be a big thing. Now, the question is, again, the wild card. Who wants to play with who? That's the thing. We never know in the NBA, and that's the risk with the Knicks in terms of giving up all those draft assets. Now, if there's any team that could do it, it would be the Knicks with the most draft picks among any team in the Eastern Conference and a lot of young talents. The question is who and what value.
The team that stands out with as far as draft capital is the OKC Thunder. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have a tremendous draft stock. I think they have 16 or 17 first-round draft picks in the next 7 years, which is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. They can rebuild their team. Don't be surprised that in probably in the next 4 or 5 years, the OKC Thunder is one of the best teams in the NBA because they're going to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, with that much draft stock, and you can absolutely land a superstar player. You could trade for a superstar player because of that much draft stock. So to me, when you look at where the NBA is and even the Brooklyn Nets, and a lot of people say, who's going to beat the Brooklyn Nets in the 7-game series? Well, the Brooklyn Nets don't have any size. They don't have any depth. Now, Andre Drummond is going to be sat out by the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're not playing him until he gets traded. Where does he get traded to? It's not going to be the Brooklyn Nets.
Celtics, I'm thinking.
You thinking the Celtics?
They need rebounding big time. I think that's.
But what are they going to trade for him? I mean, Andre Drummond's a good player.
Yeah, Andre Drummond's a good player for sure. But the Celtics, again, they have young players on that team. They still have enough draft picks. They didn't really lose much in terms of trading for, or they don't
have the draft stock they had when they got it from the Nets.
No, of course not. But I don't think they need a huge haul to get Andre Drummond. Maybe at most 2 first-round picks and a player. I don't think.
You think they get 2 first? You would have to trade 2 first-round draft picks.
I don't think. Yeah, because
I'd say 1.
You maybe 1, maybe 2, or maybe like a long distance first round pick. Like I'm saying, the Celtics are not. They're not the Rockets or the Mavericks or teams like that.
Is he a free agent next year?
Yeah.
So you give up 1.
Yeah. So I think at most maybe 2 to maybe push it from another team that might be searching for a big man.
If a team's ready to win now and all they need is a big man, aka the Brooklyn Nets, but the Brooklyn Nets don't have anything to trade. They traded away all their first round draft picks.
But again, even a team in the Western Conference too, you're judging that. There's a lot of different options. But Drummond, the thing with him is he's a phenomenal big man, but a problem is in this kind of game, it's his kind of positions being devalued and his skill sets being devalued. But you still need it to some extent. And that's why you look at the Celtics missing piece. You can maybe look at in the Western Conference, the Clippers. They've needed a big man for a while. That could be a quote unquote missing piece to that kind of team. So there's options where they might overpay. The Clippers may overpay, or the Celtics may overpay because they think the Clippers will overpay. So that's where you have to judge. I think it'll be one of those 2 teams, though, for sure.
And I read stories, and people are posting. Clarence posting up who's the best top 5 point guards in the league. Ben Simmons, his name is getting brought up. Maybe his game has transitioned now that Doc Rivers is there. I never thought Doc Rivers was any good of a coach. I never did. I never liked him with the Celtics. I think he was overrated with the Clippers. The Clippers have failed. The Clippers never played in a championship game with Doc Rivers as the head coach. And to me, when it sticks out like a sore thumb, because Doc Rivers, he never went to a championship without Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. You're talking about that kind of talent. And Doc Rivers, with the talent that he's had with the Clippers, even last year, they completely laid up a dud against the Nuggets. And now he's playing and he's coaching right now in an easier division in the, to me, in the Eastern Conference, where it's definitely open to win. And with the size that they have and the way Joel Embiid is playing, they can compete for a championship. The thing is, what sticks out to me with the Brooklyn Nets is, does any of these teams have a 3-headed monster to compete with the high scoring capabilities that the Brooklyn Nets have, if they could figure out how to stop teams to 90 to 100 points in a game? If they do that, if they somehow keep a team in a half-court game to 100 or less points, there's nobody that's going to beat the Brooklyn Nets.
Not on paper, because the Nets have that threesome. But at the same time, we've also seen James Harden especially shoot himself out of a playoff game by going 1 for 10 from 3 or something like that. Kyrie Irving's definitely had it on occasion.
He's a good offensive player in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's been good. But again, could he maybe take that next step as not necessarily the guy, but more of a feature role than he had with the Cavaliers, with LeBron handling the ball most of the time? So that's the other question to look at, because they could shoot themselves out of a game very easily. We know they don't play defense. And maybe it'll take that kind of defensive game plan. All of a sudden, you're seeing teams now in the Eastern Conference really have that defensive game plan with these types of teams. Now, we saw it with Milwaukee, why they got far for a while, but then they had a dud last year. Miami shut down Milwaukee. Toronto shut down Milwaukee. And then all of a sudden, Miami was able to figure out the Celtics. So defensive game plans could end up making a difference in this kind of Eastern Conference. And that's really the thing they have going for them with every other team there. Now, granted, the Bucks and the Celtics have both struggled so far this season. No question. But they still have that kind of coaching identity that can make a difference. The Celtics don't have the size, but they have the perimeter defense, and Milwaukee's got everything.
And that's why when you look at this, this trade deadline, who's going to move? Is there going to be a lot of moves? I don't know if there's going to be a lot of moves. I don't know. I do believe there are all-stars that are going to be daggled around. I do believe that when you look at Russell Westbrook, I do believe he will move on. I can't see the Wizards keeping him. I think you can stock up on first-round draft picks. Right. And if Bradley Beal, you can get possibly 2 or 3 first, and this is why I think the OKC Thunder should jump on this. They have a tremendous amount of draft stock. They need a superstar that they can put fannies in the seat. Bradley Beal over there with some of the youngsters that they have over there, and with the draft stock that they have this year, they can rebuild this team in 3 years.
The tricky dilemma they have is because you can't tamper, who does Bradley Beal want to play with? Because that's always a question with NBA free agency more than any other sport.
But he's not a free agent.
No. I get that. I'm saying because the Thunder have all this draft stock and still have a lot of pieces to rebuild, how much of that is going to affect their decision to trade for him? Because the Thunder are not this like large market team, like you could gamble with a team like Miami because everyone wants to go to Miami, or one of the LA teams. They are a warm weather team technically, but they've never been thought of as a high market team.
How about the Suns? I mean, right now the Suns are a championship competitive team with Chris Paul there, with Devin Booker with his beautiful Kardashian, and hopefully he figures out how to stay out of trouble, because
so far so good though.
Everybody that's ever dated a Kardashian has gotten themselves into trouble. James Harden being one of them. So we've seen a lot of NBA players come and go with these Kardashian dilemma girlfriends or whatever the hell they are, and never turn out or pan out. A.K.A. Thompson, who's now back with Chloe. So it seems like they go after NBA players. I like Kendall. I think Kendall's the prettiest one. And I like Devin Booker. I really do. I like Devin, and I think Devin would love to play for the New York Knicks. I really do, being that it's a Kentucky-built team, and some of the players that they're building around right now is Kentucky-based. So,
I don't think they're trading him at this point.
No, I don't think they're trading him either.
Not with how they played in the bubble last year. Where
How
they
about
were
Bradley Beal going over there as a wing player?
It's possible.
You put Booker as the 3.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah,
Beal as your 2.
That's definitely possible because they have enough young talent where that could be expendable. Their draft stock is probably average in terms of what they have.
Add Beal. If you add Bradley Beal to that team, are you the favorite
of the whole West? No, but
you definitely put Beal on that team right now. Beal, Booker. DeAndre Ayton, and then Chris Paul.
They're up there. I don't know about favorite over the star power teams, but
who's the star power teams? Who has a better 4 than that? Who has a better 4 than that right now?
In terms of
out of all the teams in the Western Conference, who has a better star power than that?
When healthy, the Lakers.
The Lakers are not better than that. Star
when
power.
Healthy, yes, they are.
Who's better? The
way Dennis Schroeder's played this year.
Dennis Schroeder is not better than Chris Paul.
I didn't say he was. I'm saying he overperformed his expectations.
All right, so Dennis Schroeder is not better than Chris Paul. So that position is done. Who's better than Bradley Beal at that shooting position?
In terms of a raw shooter, nobody. In terms of an overall player, LeBron and Anthony Davis.
LeBron and Anthony Davis are the only players on that team that stands out like a sore thumb. That's it. Who's better than Devin Booker over there as a shooter on that team?
I'm not saying it's a shooter.
Nobody.
Nobody's saying it's a shooter. I'm saying
all around game.
All around game.
DeAndre
It's just LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Okay, they have 2 players. They got 4. Who's a better all-around team with the star power they have? I'm taking the Suns. If you put Bradley Beal with the Suns right now, with Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker, I'm taking that team. I'm taking that team.
All I'm saying is the 3 and the 4 are better for the Suns, but again, the difference in the star power is still the
Suns'
Lakers.
bench is better than this. The Suns' bench is better and younger.
They're younger, yes. We have to see how much better they are because they have a lot
You're
of
blowing up the
specialists on
Lakers. The
bench.
Lakers have 2 superstars. That's it. And they have a very good bench. They have a bunch of good players. They don't have superstars. You put Bradley Beal on that team, that completely solidifies what the Suns are. And they're a championship competitive team. And they're just as good as the Lakers and the Clippers. A matter of fact, on paper, they're better than the Clippers.
I'll give you that because the Clippers definitely lack size for sure. And their depth, a lot of the ones that we thought came through last year and even 2 years ago has struggled this year. So that I could see. I still think the Lakers are right now the number 1 team. And then we're not even accounting for the depth of the number 1 team in the West right now in the Utah Jazz too.
Well, the Utah Jazz right now is playing good basketball. Are they going to stay like that? And how about this? Adding Bradley Beal to the Utah Jazz?
That would be insane. Oh, my God.
So you think that's insane, but you don't think it's insane that Bradley Beal goes to the Suns?
Well, here's the thing. Donovan Mitchell is that kind of extra elevated star like Devin Booker, so that kind of washes in a sense. Gobert is still a significantly better player right now than Ayton. I think Ayton could be that in the future, but right now, that's what you're judging as significantly better. Their team defense is better. Their coaching is better with Quinn Snyder. A tremendous team, and their depth is insane. One of the most deepest teams in the league. So I think that would be still a little stronger right now. Plus the playoff experience comes into factor for that. The Suns don't have it, even though Chris Paul has it. The Suns still don't have it as a whole. They've had
Chris Paul can't win. He's never won before in his life.
Right. Which again, we've agreed.
How many championships has he played for?
No, he hasn't played in any. He
all right, so there you go.
No, I'm saying we both agree that it's not his fault all the time.
No.
He ends up crumbling, but he's only made 1 conference championship. And the rest of the team, they haven't made the playoffs with any of this young core since 2013. So judge that accordingly. The Jazz have made it, and they've been pesky at times. Now they collapsed last year. Okay, they collapsed against the Nuggets, but they've been pesky. Remember, they beat the Clippers all those times when Doc Rivers was coaching the Clippers. The Jazz were a thorn in their side for a while.
And right now, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert are actually getting along. And if they're getting along, that's a good sign for that team and that organization. And you could see it on paper. They're a very good team. very dangerous team moving forward. It's very, very interesting on the transition of what some of these teams are going to be doing as the trade deadline comes around. I mean, Utah can make a significant move where it could put them right on top in the Western Conference.
Absolutely.
Right on top.
Yeah. And they're on a streak right now that is probably not going to last, but they have been playing better all around, where we thought last year, all right, they're a nice defensive team, but they fell apart offensively a little more in the second half outside of Mitchell. And you even saw the playoffs. Mitchell was carrying them in those playoffs. And eventually the Nuggets figured it out. The deeper Nuggets team at the time figured it out, and they fell apart. But they've been decent in the playoffs considering what they had, and them not being a huge market team beyond that.
It's going to be so fun to watch as the NBA season progresses. And by the way, March Madness is right around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
So I know a lot of people can't wait for that. Even though there's not a lot of fans or no fans that could be in the stadium, it's still the best time of year to watch college basketball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and then you have baseball starting. And then the draft is right around the corner. April 29th, my birthday is Thursday night, and that's the NFL draft, and that could be the beginning of a team's organization or a franchise really taking off. So it's going to be really, really interesting to watch. When we come back, we will be talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Mr. Tidy Whitey himself, Super Tidy Whitey Man himself, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can call us at 631-500-0548 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app, yes, iOS, WWSRN, and Android. Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, Freeway. You're starting to learn, Speedy. You're starting to give me some of this old hip-hop. It's standing out. I don't have to smack you in the back of the head before we go to break. So that's a good sign, right?
I guess so.
Well, it is a good sign because I don't have to hear the garbage. What was it? Like 6-7 weeks ago, you were playing some like opera music or whatever the heck it was, slow music. I was about to fall asleep when we got one of our special guests on the show. So thank you, Speedy, changing it up and giving us some real good music. Some old music, but good music. As you guys know, we are now talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. What's going on, Brock?
How's it going? Doing pretty good.
I'm good. How are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
We're good. A few of us have already had it, and I think the worst, I lost my smell for a little bit. That was about it.
Well, look on the bright side. If you had to sit next to this guy, it would be better off if you lost your smell. That's for sure. But that's great. That's great to hear. So tell us a little bit about your recruiting. Being that this has been just a down year with the whole COVID-19, you would have to be doing your recruiting on Zoom because you can't go and look at the school. BYU is very well known because of their academics. What made you decide to go to BYU, and what stood out when it came to the coaches and the recruiting of the coaches?
Yeah, I chose BYU because I've got a really good relationship with Coach Hadley. He's the one that recruited me, and Coach Sataki as well. And they came in early sophomore year and offered me. So that was really huge for me to see that they really wanted me and trusted me. And so, yeah, I mean, they have a great academic program. And, yeah.
So talk about Satake, actually one of my favorite names, one of my favorite coaches in college football, Kalani Satake. So talk about him. What about him and his program and his personality swayed you to pick BYU over even some Pac-12 schools, some other schools in Utah? You're recruited by both Utah and Utah State. Why BYU, and why did Satake help out with a lot?
Yeah, he just seems like he was a really decisive person. Again, they came in early. He called me in his office, and we talked for about an hour when he offered me. And he's just a really personable guy. I think the first time I met him I was about 12. He recruited my older brother to Utah when he was the defensive coordinator down there. So yeah, I mean, he's just a great guy and very decisive and knows what he wants.
What was your brother's name?
Quinn
Fabrizio. No, doesn't ring a bell.
Well, I mean, the name Fabrizio, it really stands out. I mean, Fabrizio. It's definitely Italian, right? Am I right?
Yeah,
It's definitely. I mean, Fabrizio. We are talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. Now, Brock, Zach Wilson is going to be a top draft pick this year. Stories coming out here in New York. He could go to the Jets. He can go to Carolina. I mean, was Zach Wilson's play one of the main reasons why, or a reason why you decided to go to BYU? If so, what were your thoughts of his game this year, and what stood out to you about his game?
Yeah, I mean, he really took BYU to a new level this year, with respect around the country, with all the other schools. Let them know that BYU is a legit program and that they can hang with the best of them.
Is it just me, or does Brock look a little bit like Zach Wilson?
I was just about to say that. I wanted to say that. I didn't want to throw him under the bus, but he did. He really does.
I'll take it. I appreciate that.
You do. I mean, all you need is one of those headbands,
right.
I'll get the headband going, and then
maybe you ask Zach to send you one of those nice headbands. Have you talked to Zach?
I think I haven't really talked to him one-on-one. He was down there when I went down and visited one time. They were having a players table, and he talked to that. That was pretty cool, but not really one-on-one. He grew up down the street from me, but
really? Grew up? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he went to Corner Canyon High School. They're our rivals. I live in Utah, so they're our rivals. Corner Canyon's our rivals, and so I mean, I've known of him for a long time. So.
Really? So let me get you straight. So you grew up down the road from him. You went to separate schools, and you look like him. And now you're going to the same school as him, and you have an opportunity to really put your name and stamp your name to BYU football.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Have you ever deflected or picked off a pass from him?
No, I haven't. I haven't done that. I wish that would be nice to have against him. But
well, we could always take Speedy's head off and use his head as a football. What do you think about that?
I mean, that'd be oddly suspicious, but yeah, okay.
I mean, we'd have to shave that hair and try to put skin on that face of yours.
Again, still would be oddly suspicious throwing a human head as a football, but okay.
Nothing is weird when it comes to the United States and everything that we have seen in the last couple of years. So
that is true, but again, that seems a little bit of obvious evidence of a human head. But
that's true. We are talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. Now, Brock, you look at the game in the NFL game and the college game. Now, compare your skills to an NFL style of game and going to BYU, being that it's more of an academic school. What stood out defensively this year in the NCAA game of BYU that you can help change in the years to come?
Yeah, I'd say my speed helps a lot. You know, being back there. I mean, I've played strong safety and as well as free safety, and I think nowadays with NCAA, I mean, and the NFL, it's really turned into a passing game, and so I think there's a heavy demand on your safeties to be locked down back there and be able to cover the field, and I think with my speed that I am able to do that. You know, cover sideline to sideline. You know, if that ball's up in the air, I can go get it.
So speaking of the season for BYU, it was definitely arguably the wackiest season you ever see. You didn't know who you were playing a lot of the time because of cancellations, and BYU being an independent as well. That doesn't really help when the other teams start trying to play a conference schedule. So, I mean, do you think you'll ever see another season like that? And also, being an independent, like, how do you think that helps or hurts them in college football as a whole? Because they were very good. They were undefeated up until they lost to Coastal Carolina, who you probably would have never thought they would have played at the start of the year. So how do you think that ends up helping the landscape of it?
Well, I mean, obviously it was wacky with, not really knowing week to week, but I think it honestly helped them this year. You had teams like, University of Utah that played like 4 games this whole season. And so I think it helped BYU be able to get a full schedule. And I think it shows, BYU is ready to go and play anyone that they can. So I think it actually really helped BYU this year. And I think it's really cool that they, in years to come, they can just play, pretty much anyone that can schedule with them.
I think they have Alabama next year, I believe. One of the opening games of the season, I think.
Yeah, there's talks about that. I'm not completely sure, but
yeah, I know it was scheduled at some point. I don't know if it's next year or the year after, but it is something that is scheduled, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You get to play Saban in those lunatics over there,
Exactly. That'd be a good test.
Oh, it's a good test. I mean, that's a top test against a top defense every single year in the SEC. They're a dominant defense, and I have to say, we'll see where the quarterback gets drafted this year. I don't think he's going to get drafted as high as Zach Wilson, but he's a very accurate quarterback and a guy that can put the ball where he wants. So it's very interesting to see where Alabama always lands those top running backs, those top wide receivers, and those top defensive players. And they always fall short with the quarterback position. So that's why Tua's not going to have a long-lasting career.
And Tua's the best one that they've had in the last decade or so.
That's for damn sure. We are talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. So what stands out to you as a positional player, as a DB? And being that your game is transition, you're a fast guy at the safety position. What player in the NCAA right now or in the NFL that plays your style of game? What sticks out to you in your game to their game? And what player could you say, well, I play just like him in the NFL?
I don't really know if there's specifically like one player that I can say I play like them, or I could see me being exactly like them. But I'd say I kind of just take, little things from each player. Tyrann Mathieu is a big one. He's just everywhere. He's always in the play, making a big play, big stop. Also, Jamal Adams. He's close.
Oh man, I
know that. I'm sure that's just a sore subject for you guys out there, but
no, not for me. For him.
Okay. But his aggressiveness and just getting after the ball carrier and always making a play.
Did anybody tell you that you look like Ashton Davis too? Because you do look like Ashton Davis.
I don't even know
crazy.
who that is.
You don't know who Ashton Davis is? He was drafted by the Jets in the 3rd round. Was it third round last year?
3rd round, yeah.
3rd round last year, Giants pick. And he was a Cal.
He was the Jets pick.
I know. He was the Giants pick. The Jets got from Leonard Williams.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And Ashton, you never heard of Ashton Davis?
Mm-mm.
I'm surprised.
I'll have to look him up though.
He's a good player. He's a good young player. Cal was a running back, not running back, safety who actually he played one or 2 years of college ball. He never played high school ball. He was a track and field runner, and he he became an NFL player. He's a pretty damn good NFL player.
So is Maurice Drew, so that's a good track record to have. So we were talking about like the versatility of the safety position. You brought up Jamal Adams, how much times he blitzed. Even though he regressed a little in coverage this year, he had the biggest sack record for a safety all time. And the Seahawks lined him up strangely for whatever reason, a lot as a linebacker, which was very weird considering how bad their secondary was. But just as a whole, like you've seen a lot of these guys. You mentioned the Honey Badger, who I think is the best safety in football. You guys that are moving around a lot.
Does he not look like Ashton Davis?
Yeah. Oh my God.
He looks identical of Ashton Davis. When you go and look him up, I guarantee you're going to be like, oh my God, that's my twin brother.
Wow. That's even more resemblance than I would have thought.
Yes.
That's crazy.
You look identical to Ashton Davis.
He's not wrong on this one, Brock. If you look up Ashton Davis,
you got to post that up so people can see it.
That is crazy. So yeah, back to the question. So do you think the versatility of the safety position is a requirement essentially now for young safeties, where you don't see as much like one or the other type safeties, box safeties or coverage safeties? And also, how much have you played in terms of different roles, whether it's slot corner, linebacker, stuff like that, and different safety spots?
Yeah, I definitely agree that like you have to be able to play many different positions, because there's just many different scenarios that you're going to be in, and the better you are at different things, the better chance you have. I've played, corner, outside linebacker. I've played nickel, strong safety, free safety. So yeah, I think it definitely affects your play.
We are talking to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. Now, Brock, what game really stood out to you? I don't know if you had a high school game this year, but what in your career in high school, what game has stood out to you, your best game, and what was your worst game, and what do you like to remember as a high school player, and what do you not want to remember as a high school player, as a football player?
I'd say my favorite game would have to be my sophomore year. It was a really close game. They were down by a touchdown, and it was a fourth down. We needed to stop to seal the game away, and we lined up man to man, and I had a pass breakup to seal the game. And that was probably my favorite memory of a game. My worst would, I don't even think I've had a bad game. I don't know.
It's a compliment for you, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the worst. But what I would like to remember, probably just, the friendships and the bond that I made with all my friends here. I'd like to forget the long morning runs, and waking up at 6 a.m. and getting out there. But
you hear what he says? The long
runs.
Nice and slowly. The long run.
Just as slow psychologically as the length of the run and how tired you must have ended up getting. So, Brock, if you were to have a choice to play for one NFL coach, whether it be both past and present, you're not an NFL coach. If you were an NFL coach, you wouldn't be here right now.
Yes, I would. It's the end of the season.
Yeah, and you would be here instead of scouting and stuff like that.
Yeah, why not? That's what the scouts are there for. I'm here to relax and get ready for the season.
All right. So one NFL coach, you could either be past or present, that you would want to play for the most. Who would it be and why?
I'd say it's got to be Bill Belichick.
Oh, come on. Brock, you screwed me today.
The GOAT coach. Be a part of like the Patriots, Patriot rules, I guess you could say. And I think that'd be a really cool experience.
Brock, I loved you in the beginning of this interview, and then all of a sudden you mentioned Jamal Adams, and then you answered with Bill Belichick, and arguably my rival. I can't stand the Patriots, and you mentioned a team. So let me ask you a question. What is your goal? You going to college, going to play college ball? Are you planning? Do you plan that your goal is to play NFL football? Or are you planning to go through your 4 years of education, get your degree, and see where everything lies? What is your plans after college?
Yeah, absolutely the NFL. that's always been a goal of mine and a dream. And I think I'm willing to make the sacrifices to get there and see where it takes me.
By the way, it's interesting you brought up the Bill Belichick.
Oh my God! Could you not mention that name anymore?
Okay, it's interesting because Brock told me when we were setting up for the interview that he's actually an Atlanta Falcons fan. So very surprising that he brought up.
I just say I'm a Falcon. I don't really have like a specific team. I just say the Falcons. You know, that's where I was born, was in Georgia, and so I just say, Falcons, sure. But I'm not really a diehard.
Well, you can't hate the Falcons. The Falcons was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, even though Kyle Shanahan screwed them. But all in all, I think they, when you look at the Atlanta Falcons and the success of the Atlanta Falcons in the last 10 years, they have been very successful as an organization. They just couldn't get over the hump to win a Super Bowl. They have Julio Jones. Yeah. They've had Rodney White. They've Matt Ryan has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, an elite quarterback for almost 7 years before he just broke down. And this is a completely different thing. So you can't hate on the Atlanta Falcons. So being an Atlanta Falcon fan is better than being a New York Jet fan. So I give you all the credit.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true.
It's definitely true. The Jets haven't been to a Super Bowl in 50 years. So it's definitely true.
All right, so settle this as a Falcons fan, because he says Kyle Shanahan is the biggest thing to blame. I don't think so. I think it's more the defense getting too conservative. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say probably defense being too conservative. I mean,
give me a break.
They just blew that lead. It was insane.
They blew that lead because they should have ran the ball. Why would you throw the ball? You control the clock. There was 9 minutes left and you're up by 20 points and you decide to throw the ball. What kind of sense that – you don't blame Kyle Shanahan against when the San Francisco 49ers played the Kansas City Chiefs. They were up by 10 points with 6 minutes left, and he stopped running the ball against arguably they're the number one running offense throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, and he stops running the ball the last 6 minutes of the game, depended on Jimmy Garoppolo's arm, and that's why they lost. To me, the 49ers should have been a Super Bowl championship, just as well as the Atlanta Falcons should have been the Super Bowl champions, not the Patriots. So, to me, Kyle Shanahan is an absolute loser. That's all I'm saying. I think he's terrible as a head coach. That's just my opinion. I like his offense. I think his style is great. Run first, throw second makes a lot of sense. That's what wins championships. No question that it does. His father, Shanahan, Mr. Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, who won 2 Super Bowls with the Broncos, his success came from, obviously, John Elway, but running the ball. Davis running the ball, throwing second. That's what he did, and he had a very good defense. Same thing with the Atlanta Falcons. Shanahan had a great offense, great running game, second best running game in the league, and he stopped running the ball with arguably 2 of the best running backs in the league. And then same thing happened with the 3-headed monster with the San Francisco 49ers with 6.5 minutes left of the game. You are up by 10, you are winning the game, and you're on their side of the ball, the 48-yard line. All you had to do was run the ball, and he decides to throw the ball. So to me, it's all Kyle Shanahan. I don't care about what the defense did. You run the clock out, you win the game, and you're up by 10 points. The chances of a team coming back, do you know what the percentage was for a team to come back with almost 5 minutes left of the game, up by 10? 71%. Do you know the highest percentage in NFL history in the playoffs? Kyle Shanahan led both teams. Kyle Shanahan had a 71% chance to win as the head coach. 71% with the San Francisco 49ers. He lost the game in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan, as the offensive coordinator, had a 99.5% chance to win the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons. What did he do? He lost. So to me, Kyle Shanahan puts up all the big duds. It doesn't matter where he is as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach, he's going to lose. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
There you go.
I had to let that go. It just it flows. It flows. I'm sorry. What do you think, Speedy?
Well, we're going to forever disagree on that because I'm with you, Brock.
He's in love with him.
No, it's not that. I thought they just got too soft on defense.
He wants to make love to him.
And as a defensive back, a big difference a lot of the time with man and zone concepts. They were great playing press and man-to-man and guarding the middle of the field in the first half. And they got soft all of a sudden. And that's what I thought also for them. And even you saw in the years after that, it must pain you as a Falcons fan seeing all those late and double-digit leads that have been blown. Even after Shanahan got hired by the 49ers.
How could you not get soft when you're up and you completely dominate defensively, and then in the fourth quarter, absolutely give up on the run? How do you do that? How do you do that? You ran the ball. You ran the ball, 10% of the time in the fourth quarter when you were running the ball almost 85% the whole game. Doesn't make any sense, okay? Kyle Shanahan's a moron. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, Brock, we do this with all our recruits. We're going to ask you some silly questions, okay? And we expect you to give us a straight answer. And then after that, we're going to give you the opportunity to ask us 3 questions of your own. Any question that you want, it doesn't matter what it is, we will answer it to a T. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First question. Boxers or briefs? Or if you like tidy whities, which one would you go with and why?
Definitely not the tidy whities. That would not be the best decision.
Well, he's wearing...
No, they're not listening to him,
He
Brock.
is wearing Scooby-Doo tidy whiteys, my friend.
Do not listen to him.
If you want him autographed, he'll send it to you.
No.
Oh,
You don't have
I'm
to
going to
watch
pass on that. I'll pass on that.
Do not listen to him.
I would go with the briefs.
All right. And why? Why?
You know, they just give you the security that you need, you know.
Yeah, you don't like him to hang. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I don't like him to hang either, and I was an athlete too. I when you get to my age, and I'm a little bit older than you, Brock, they start to jiggle. So you have to be very secure, and that's why those boxer briefs. I wear boxer briefs and only boxer briefs because I like security. What do you think, Speedy?
Exactly.
You tidy whities.
I do not wear tidy whities, Brock. Do not listen to this guy. He just wants to.
Me, Tarzan, him, Jane.
There you go.
There we go.
So you're an NFL coach, somebody who swings from a vine, and everybody's agent, apparently.
All right, second question. Favorite snack to eat before a game and why?
Ooh, probably a banana and some pickle juice.
Pickle juice?
I cramp.
Hopefully
I cramp
not
a lot. So, I've got to drink the pickle juice and get the banana for anti-cramp stuff. So,
what are you trying to make?
Hopefully you don't eat them together.
No, don't do that.
Banana and pickle juice for dinner.
Yep.
What do you want for dinner? What do you want for Brock Fabrizio? What do you want? It's not Italian food. I want some pickle juice and bananas, baby. That's what I want. Bring it home to me, mama. Yeah. Good. I've never heard that before.
We had somebody
pickle
who
juice,
mentioned
yes.
pickle
Two
juice.
Two guys.
And he said, I forget who it was, and he also said he did competitions with his teammates on who could chug the jar the fastest or something like that. Have you ever done anything like that?
I hate pickles. Like they're like my least favorite thing. So I'm just like choking it down, just drinking the least amount that I can drink. But
that's interesting. So you don't like pickles, but you love pickle juice.
I don't love it. I just got to do it so I don't cramp.
Huh.
Well, Speedy looks like a pickle. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, last question for us. Blondes or brunettes and why?
Ooh,
now, you're going to BYU, man. A lot of smart women over there. A lot of bronze. A lot of bronze, not blondes, bronze. A lot of blondes, brunettes, and some redheads. I've been to BYU. It's a beautiful school. Very, very nice, technical. Do you have a girlfriend, by the way?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
What is her name, by the way?
Her name is Hannah.
Hannah, okay. How long you guys been together?
Probably a little little less than 2 years.
Look at you. You're trying to think. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get yourself into trouble now. Hannah,
exactly. You got to think. You got to think long and hard.
2 years. Okay, so that's good. Where is she going to school? Is she going to BYU with you?
She is going to BYU.
Oh, look at that. She's following you. That's good. That's good. Congratulations, man. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
That's good. Good. Is she going to follow you to the NFL too?
Of course.
All right. So she'll be your corner. Okay. She'll be your corner. You'll be the safety, and you can share the field together. What do you think about that?
Sounds great.
So is she a blonde or a brunette?
She is a brunette.
All right. What color?
Yeah,
what color eyes?
You got brown eyes.
All right. So you're a blonde hair guy. You have light eyes, blue eyes, and you like the brown and brown. Okay. And I understand. I got your feeling over here. I got it. All right. So ask us whatever you want, bud. Ask us whatever you want. You want to ask if Speedy's ever been kissed? He's only been kissed once. Okay, so that question's off the table. Okay, so go ahead. Ask away.
Right. I'm gonna go with LeBron or Michael Jordan. Who's the GOAT?
Well, I'll start. He'll give the long answer for this. I think it's Michael Jordan. I just think the era he played in, he's well-rounded. That's the biggest thing I look at to start with any greatest player of all time. He's well-rounded. He could do everything. Fearless guy, intimidating guy. And again, what he accomplished in a tough era in the NBA on both sides of the ball is very hard. LeBron is a great statistical player, and I think it's the second best player of all time, but I don't think he's quite there to Michael Jordan.
He'll never be there with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, he never even got a chance to see Michael Jordan. You never got it. You weren't even alive. You weren't even thought of. You were probably a wet dream or something. I don't know. I mean, wow. I'm being serious. I mean, your father's probably a little bit older than me. I'm 38, believe it or not. Michael Jordan really changed the game. He really was. He was the perfect athlete. When you try to compare and contrast an athlete of any era, the guy was a dominant player. If he didn't retire, probably would have won 8 championships in a row. He struck fear in everybody that stepped on the court with him. He never missed games. LeBron James misses a game in and game out if he wants to get healthy or he's getting ready for the playoffs. Michael Jordan always knew that he knew that people were coming to watch him play. He always stepped on the court. He always played in the game. And he was just a dominant force. Now, LeBron James is a dominant force. He probably will have every single statistic. By the time he's done with his career, he'll probably break every single record. But to me, what changes everything of perception of greatness is what a guy can do on the court. When somebody steps on the court and strikes fear on every single player that steps on the court, that's dominance. And Michael Jordan was probably, out of all the greats, when you talk about professional sports, Muhammad Ali, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, football, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, all these great superstar players that really revolutionized the game. The one that stood out the most, the one that you'll always remember, the name will always pop in your head 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, even if you've never seen him play, will be Michael Jordan. Because Michael Jordan was the greatest athlete, the greatest basketball player, and the greatest phenom to ever play professional sports.
Well, there you go.
Second question.
Let's see. Who are you guys' favorite NFL teams?
I'm a Giants fan.
Oh, okay.
I don't need to hear you gargling during my answers. Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. I've been a Giants fan since 2004, 2005 when I started watching football. My father was a Giants fan, and we just got onto that from that. It's funny because I have more extended family members that are Jets fans, so
they're smart.
Well, I mean,
no, actually,
I'm gonna say with their track record, I don't know about that. So it's interesting enough, but yeah, I always have been a Giants fan. I always like the 04 to obviously those 2 Super Bowl teams. I always like a lot of those core players. So yeah, that's always been my team.
Yeah, well, it hasn't mistaken who I am and who I root for. It's the New York Jets. I got to watch Goggly Cuckoo Eyes all year coach my team. And then Jamal Adams running away, good riddance to him. And then Le'Veon Bell running away, not winning anything. Why am I not surprised? And the Jets right now are a team that's rebuilding. I love Robert Saleh. I think this team is on the ups. I think the Giants are on their way downs, and the Patriots can kiss my ass. So there you go. There you go. You got my answer on that. But I've been a Jet fan since I was like 6 years old. I have no idea why I became a Jet fan. I have no idea. Maybe because I would rather green and white than blue and red.
That is true. His second team is the Eagles. So.
Yes. The second team is the Eagles because I love Donovan McNabb. I grew up a Donovan McNabb fan. I went to the Super Bowl last year, and I got to hang out with Donovan for an event that I did with him. And I love him. I love him as a person. I even love him even off the field. The guy, by the way, he's one of the biggest men I've ever seen in my entire life. And for a quarterback, for me to say that a quarterback is one of the biggest men I've ever seen in my life, that's saying like the guy's got huge arms. It's unbelievable how big that guy is. So Donovan.
You grew up loving it. I grew up. That was one of my first rivals. That team.
Well, I love Syracuse. I grew up.
That's it. Yeah.
A huge Syracuse football fan. Growing up, I was a Florida State fan, but I rooted for Syracuse football because it was the only football team in New York that you could root for. So, and there was a lot of great players that came from Syracuse football. So Donovan was a guy that stood out to me, and I rooted him on. If the Jets weren't in the playoffs, which usually never, I was rooting for Donovan. So that's where it all came from, and that's why when the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, I was actually happy because it is my second favorite team. It's a lot of Giant fans don't want to hear that, but it's true.
And they beat the Patriots.
Yes, that's true. That made me happy too. So that was very exciting that a backup quarterback knocked off Tom Brady. So, anyways, last question for you.
I guess you kind of already answered this, but favorite college team.
I don't really have a college team. I like a lot of the independent schools like yours and BYU. I actually root for a lot of different ones like that. Usually I have one with each conference. Like there's certain teams I don't like. Like I'm not really a big USC, Texas person. I don't really like Ohio State. Like there's certain schools I don't like, but I never really had one college team because like Errol said, we grow up in an area where it's not as big college football in terms of having one set team. The Northeast, I grew up in Connecticut. There's no team there. The UConn football's there, but they're never any good. And again, with New York, it's not really that kind of thing. So I never really got into it. My family wasn't really into that. So I really got into it on my own, just the game as a whole.
I'm a Florida State fan. Grew up a Florida State Seminoles fan my whole life. Hated Miami Hurricanes. Loved when the Seminoles played the Miami Hurricanes in the national championship or whenever they played. I loved when they beat the hell out of each other. And the Seminoles always usually came out on top. They really did in the 90s. And then slowly but surely, both schools completely fell apart, maybe because of coaching, maybe because coaches got old. They decided to retire. And you see, Jameis Winston was the last time I actually had the opportunity to watch my team win a national title. And I said it from day one that Jameis Winston was going to be a terrible quarterback. The best thing that Jameis Winston did was steal a bunch of crab legs. That's about it.
He's a mobile Jay Cutler.
Yes, he's a mobile crab thieving person. And what he does in the taxi is a little awkward himself. So the stories we've heard about Jameis Winston just is mind-boggling. And the fact that he still has a job in the NFL even mind-boggles me even more. So there you go. I am a Seminoles fan, but where did you get the name Brock, by the way? Are you named after Brock Lesnar or something like that?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I think it is just
powerful name, Daddy. Your father said, you know what? I want to give you a powerful name. Brock Fabrizio. You know, I mean that name. And listen, if you ever get drafted, okay, we're gonna party. I'm gonna go to your draft party. We're going to party. I'm going to do an interview with you strictly, and you're going to be drafted by the New York Jets, and we're going to dance all the way to the 50-yard line as we win not one, not two, but 3 Super Bowls. I would love to see that. And if you're a big part of that, that would make me even more happy with the last.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
Listen, with the name Fabrizio, and you look just like Ashton Davis. You'd be twins.
Yeah, really.
I mean, go look at what he looks like. I mean, you are a spinning image of Ashton Davis. No lie to that. So I see your mom or your father looking at you or giving you a nice look.
My mom was saying they say what's up. She's laughing and says hi. She's telling me to bring up my middle name. What
is your middle name? Ooh.
Dino.
Dino? Oh my God. Well, listen to this name. Okay, hold on. Brock Dino Fabrizio. I mean Dino, like Dino Cicerelli. Like Dino Cicerelli is the only Dino I know. Or who's that wrestler? Dino.
You're asking me. I don't know wrestlers.
Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo. That's who he was. Dino Bravo is he was a guy in the 80s in wrestling.
That could be a good nickname for him.
Yeah, we'll call you Dino Bravo.
Bravo. I like it.
We're gonna call you Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo Fabrizio. I like that. Dino Bravo was a big guy too. He died from a heart attack. I think it was the steroids shooting in his ass. But besides that, Dino Bravo was a great wrestler. So I like that. Dino Bravo. That's a good name. Speedy, good job. Good job on that.
I like it.
Dino Bracavo.
No, I like Bravo. Come on. What are you trying to ruin something here?
It's a twist on his first and last middle name.
Listen, sign your tidy whities. Send
enough
it over
with the tidy whities.
Tidy whities. You know,
do not listen to him with the tidy whities. They do not exist and never will.
Brock, they exist. Trust me. And this guy is going to lie to you, but this guy was commando on this show. This
Brock
on this show.
All right.
Yes, he did.
Brock, let me tell you the real story because he likes to twist this. So we were doing the show. Instead of me being here, I was at my house in Connecticut over the Thanksgiving break.
Loser.
And I couldn't get into the shower because my brothers were in there at different points in time. Then I had to set up our show, our interview, the people we were having on the show. So
because
I
of COVID-19.
because I didn't. Yeah, okay, but because of the holidays too. But okay, so I was setting them up, so I didn't have time to get dressed or anything like that and shower. So I stayed in my pajamas that I was wearing.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, I was.
No, he
I was
wasn't.
at my house. I did not do
bare
it here.
ass. He was bare.
No,
ass.
I was not. If I was bare ass, I'd be freezing.
Well, who knows with you, man?
Why would I want to be deliberately cold?
I don't know. That's you. You're a weirdo. There's a
Yes,
lot of
and never do I want to be deliberately cold.
Well, I don't know, Brock. I don't think you want to know about his cold turkey craziness over here.
I wouldn't eat turkey either, except on a sandwich.
Well, thank you for your whole. What would you call it? Dino Bracchio, whatever you call him. It's Dino Bravo, man. Anyways, Brock, tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Let's see. My Instagram is bfab_33. Twitter is just at Brock Fabrizio.
Man, we would love to get you on, man, especially when the season starts with BYU. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are with the coaching and what's going on with some of the team and the players and stuff like that. And we want you to be a fan of the show, man. So stay in touch with us. Follow our app. We'd love. My producer will send you the app, and we're going to be following you, man. I love the last name. I really do. And if you ever become a New York Jet, man, Mr. Fabrizio will be right pat on my back jersey, okay? Because I'm definitely going to follow you. I like your personality. Stay confident and stay secure over there, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It means a lot.
Absolutely. And tell Hannah I said hello, okay?
I will.
Okay.
I'll tell her.
There you go. Hannah, Mr. Brock, a.k.a. Dino Bravo, Fabrizio. BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio. Very, very nice kid. Really is. And definitely he looks like Ashton Davis. Definitely does. I mean, how could he not? He looks like Ashton Davis. I can't lie about that.
So if Brock, if you and Ashton Davis combine for a sack, hopefully that gets photographed somewhere.
Yeah, we'll be twins somewhere.
Oh man, could you imagine these two guys playing?
Yeah,
the same...
like right on the field next to each other. Like
how tall?
I mean,
are you?
You'll tell on jersey number, but
how tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
He's 6'1" too. So there you go.
Wow.
You guys are like long lost brothers. He's like 6'1". Perfect, man. It's unbelievable, man. You are identical. I'm telling you, when we get off with you, man, go check it out. I'm not lying to you. You know, Hannah might fall in love with another man. I don't know, man.
I can't show her.
Don't show her that picture, man. You probably. I mean, he's an NFL player right now. You're not. So if money talks, man. Money talks.
That is true.
But BYU, man, it's great. Congratulations, man.
Thank
it really
you.
is. It's an amazing feat. I say this to all the recruits. We've interviewed some of the top 100 recruits in the country. Looking forward to Mr. Devin coming on with us.
Oh yeah, that's
17th.
2 days from now.
Yes, Devin, who is the top cornerback recruit in the nation. He decided to make it priority to decide if he wanted to go and play for USC and UCLA, and he picked UCLA again. So I'm gonna rip him apart on live radio because he kind of stuck it to me. But anyways, we really appreciate you joining us, man, and stay safe. Really, seriously, stay safe. Say hello to your family, and we're gonna get you on again, man. We definitely want to, and stay away from the pickle juice, man. The pickle juice is disgusting, man. Banana.
I gotta do it. I mean, it's disgusting, but I gotta do it.
Did you ever dip a banana in a pickle juice?
No.
Oh man,
that's what I was telling him to avoid. Hopefully, you didn't do that.
Yeah, that would be bad.
I mean, the taste in my mouth would. I know the banana taste, and then just the pickle juice. I mean, the only pickle juice I like is relish pickle juice. You ever have relish? You like relish, Speedy?
Oh, I think you're talking to him.
I'm talking to you.
No, I don't. But no,
you don't like any relish on your hot dog?
No, I'm not a relish person.
Well, listen to this.
It's a weird.
Listen to this. What do you like? You like what makes the sausage good for you, man? What do you like? You like it dark?
Oh yeah, I got hot dogs and sausages. I like them cooked darker because they have more.
Likes the dark sausage. What
spicy ones?
Spicy dark sausage. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And why don't you like the white sausage?
I just don't think they're as flavorful. It's weak to me.
It's weak. He doesn't like white sausage. He likes the dark sausage. So there you go. So you could take that home, and if you ever want to think of Speedy, just remember He likes dark, spicy sausages to the white. So there you go.
I'll remember that.
He'll put that in his book, okay? You happy,
You're writing a book, Brock?
Yes. The Brock Fabrizio.
Now I am.
There you go. Anyways, well, before we go, and we have just 4 minutes left of our show, I will say this, right? And I know a lot of people look at, you look at sports and media to be, storytelling, and people like to write their stories, and they like to attack people on social media. Well, the one thing I like to do on our radio show is I like to state the truth. It might be my truth, but it is the truth. And when I see what sports is coming to with social media and the transformation of what sports media is turning into, it's a joke. It really is. You have people writing about stories that are not true, telling Trevor Bauer is going to be a New York Met, and then, 2 days later he's with the Dodgers. I mean, you have all these different writers. And I've seen this over and over and over and over again. And you see all these different writers write these stories, and they're completely bogus to what the truth is and what the truth lies to when it's sports media and what sports media is. It's a complete appalling situation where media is taking over the world, and it's ruining what social media does for sports. It really.
Well, yeah, that's with anything. There are always going to be conflicting rumors, no matter who you are, no matter what. If you're a top insider or a local insider, there's always going to be conflicting rumors with anything. We thought for a while, like you were saying, Trevor Bauer was going to go to the Mets, but again, his heart was still with the Dodgers, being that he was a California kid, and you can never rule it out. Plus, again, with the length of time it goes for, you never know. We thought for a while that. We thought for a while that Kawhi Leonard was going to stay with Toronto because that was a big story after they won the NBA Finals, but he still ended up going to the Clippers like we all thought originally. With players being this controlling,
but you think it's media? Reports. Why does the media have to get involved with something that they're telling fib stories? They're consumptions, but they're coming out. It's a foregone conclusion. This player is going here. How many times did we hear Desean Watson was going to go to the Jets? Now all of a sudden, a couple of days later, he only is looking at the Broncos. And he's only looking at the 49ers. Now, all of a sudden, the story came out that if he gets traded anywhere, it would only be the Jets.
Right.
So why is there presumptions or any of these things that we hear when it comes to social media and media? If you're not going to give us the truth, why even say anything?
Well, yeah, people are writing, and there's different more media outlets than there ever been before. So people are going to write different things. Again, the question is, where are your sources, and how strong are these sources? Because even strong sources sometimes cancel out too, in terms of a player signing, a player getting traded. Maybe he didn't get traded after all. Even with the draft too, we're hearing different teams trying to trade up last year, and none of it ended up happening. It just ended up being very conventional. So reports will conflict itself just because there's so many different social media, so many different media outlets that's going to happen. Not every report is going to be the same until it's actually official.
And that will end our show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back on Wednesday below the mic, and we will have our friend Devin joining us. And it's going to be a very interesting first time we're going to get him on a video feed. We had him on a radio. We had him on a phone feed a couple of months ago, but we've been wanting to get him on. One of my favorites. One of my favorites I've ever interviewed. Mr. Skittles man himself.
Yeah.
Is it Skittles or Gummy Bears?
Gummy Bears.
It's Gummy Bears. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's the Gummy Bear man. So I'm looking forward to getting him on the show as well. So definitely looking forward to that. But anyways, we'll be back on Wednesday. I want to give a shout out to all the different fans that listen to our show every single day. The Greenhouse New York Jet football fan that's sending us posts for Steve Young and Matthias, all the guys, Clarence, all the guys that tune in, girls that tune into our show throughout the world, throughout the country, on our social media platforms, on our stream. We really appreciate you listening to us. We'll be back on Wednesday on Below the Mic. Big things happening for our network, so stay tuned as we move forward with our network. Until then, this is Errol Marks and Mr. Tidy Whitey Man himself, Speedy Petey, saying good night. We'll talk to you then. By the way, thank you to BYU safety recruit Brock Fabrizio for joining us. Very great, very good interview. Great guy, great kid. Looking forward to watching the kid grow. Well, that's it for our show. We'll be back Wednesday. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Be Fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.